Huerta, founder and president of the Dolores Huerta Foundation and co-founder of the United Farm Workers. Dolores Huerta started her career in activism as a school teacher and spent her entire life advocating for change. After teaching, she pursued her calling as an organizer by serving in the leadership of Fred Ross Sr. and the Community Service Organization. In 1962, Dolores and Cesar, a powerhouse team, resigned from the CSO and launched what we know as the National Farm Workers Association. This part of Dolores' journey, which was so vital to the farm workers' rights movement, reminded me of something Serena Williams wrote just the other day. She said, "It's never easy to walk away from something you helped create, but doing something to catalyze change is never easy." And it's true. Dolores' organizing skills are unmatched, and they were essential to the growth of this rising organization. Despite all her efforts and impact, the challenges that come with being a woman in such a heated and conservative period did not go unnoted. Considering the times and political climate, I'd like to share a part of Dolores' life that I recently learned with respect to the current protesting happening. In the early 2000s, Dolores encountered a life-threatening assault while protesting against the policies of then presidential candidate George Bush. A baton-wielding officer broke 4 ribs and shattered her spleen. Public outrage resulted in the San Francisco Police Department changing its policies regarding crowd control and police discipline. But it perplexes me that today we are still experiencing and combating the same brutality from our law enforcement. Nonetheless, she is a wondrous example of an individual who continually defies the odds. In 2002, she received the Puffin Nation $100,000 prize for creative citizenship, which she used to establish the Dolores Huerta Foundation. DHF advocates for education reform. It brings about infrastructure improvements into low-income communities, advocates for greater equality for the LGBTQ community, and creates strong leadership development. She was able to wield pain into political power. Among countless awards and accolades, in 2012, President Obama bestowed Dolores with her most prestigious award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States. Upon receiving this award, Dolores said, "The freedom of association means that people can come together in an organization to fight for solutions to the problems they confront in their communities. The great social justice changes in our country have happened when people came together, organized, and took direct action. And this I could not agree with more." After seeing a massive Black Lives Matter protest in honor of George Floyd on my street firsthand, I was overwhelmed with a feeling of solidarity and ultimate community love. I had to stop and take it all in because there's truly nothing like it, and I'm grateful I got to experience it. So many are saying we are in a race war and that our president is doing all he can to divide our country, which is true, but I also think this is the most unity and compassion I've ever felt for my country. Coming out after months of social distancing, it was a total euphoric feeling and it gave me hope. We are living in unprecedented times, going through a pandemic and a racial injustice crisis simultaneously. Us seniors have lost so many things we have been looking forward to for years. Therefore, I'm sure that many of us have felt hopeless and have had trouble seeing the light at the end of this tunnel. But something I've realized is that this is nothing compared to what changemakers endured before us. And for that, I feel grateful to be living in a time where I can use my voice to amplify the noise and commotion to insist on change, and I never, ever want to take that for granted. I am beyond inspired by individuals like Dolores Huerta, who didn't have this luxury, advocating for change in a time when women weren't encouraged to speak out, when our people and many others needed an individual like her, when justice was so crucial. This is a time for the class of 2020 to look at our world through a more magnified lens and to demonstrate our resilience. I knew it when I first shook your hand on stage many years ago at that mayoral debate, but especially in times like now, you inspire mine and many others' hope for change, for the light at the end of the tunnel and for a better tomorrow. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dolores Huerta.
We were all clapping, but we were muted. All right. Dolores, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Hayek, for those beautiful words. I mean, they were so inspirational, and boy, you just hit the tone, hit the moment. You know, I know that, and I think all of you are thinking, wow, we are graduating just at this moment in history, because this is a moment in history. What we are going through now, none of us could have ever imagined. And to think that we are the ones, you and all of us here, that we are the ones that are going to be able to take what's going on right now with the pandemic, where everybody had to protect each other, and now with people that are marching on the streets again to protect each other and to change the way that our society works. So anyway, welcome to the new to the new movement, I might say, and knowing that you are going to be the ones that are going to be on the front lines of moving this forward. You know, I remember a lot of people, young people, would say to me, I wish I would have been born in the 60s. Well, guess what? We're back, okay? What you're seeing right now is not only what happened in the 60s, but in many respects, it's even greater than the 60s. And I'll explain to you why. During the 60s, we had a lot of people of color, black and brown, mostly marching, you know, for their rights. Down in the civil rights movement in the South and the Farmworkers Movement, you had a lot of white kids marching, really, because they didn't want to go to war in Vietnam. What has changed? What has changed that we see now a lot of Caucasians that are out there marching with black, brown, and Asian young people also, because they know they want to redress the wrongs that have been done to people of color in this country. Now, out of the civil rights movement, there were a lot of changes. When I went to college, and many of you are going on to college, guess what? There were only maybe 5 or 6 of us on every campus. Because of what happened in the 60s and the 70s, we know that the doors were opened up to young people of color to be able to go to college. Not that we're there yet. Some of you are going to be going to UCLA. When you go to UCLA, you're going to be seeing, hey, where are all the people of color? You know, the numbers there are still very low, especially for African Americans. The numbers are like 4 or 5% of all of the student population. For Latinos, likewise, maybe 6 or 7% at the UCLA campuses. We see many of our state campuses that the numbers of people of color are still very low. African American and Latinos are still very low. So we know that we have so much work to do. The wonderful thing is that you, with this great knowledge that you have acquired in the Cesar Chavez clubs, you're going to be automatic leaders when you go onto all of those campuses. And I know you're going to have to take some time to get adjusted, because going from high school to college is a big deal. And you're going to be around people that you don't even know. But I know that you will find people that are like-minded like yourselves, that care about social justice, because that's why you were part of the Cesar Chavez clubs to begin with. And one of the things I'm really going to ask you, and I know that I don't even, you're already there, so you've already been educated in this area, is to do everything that we can to end the racism in our society. One of the easy ways that I like to say to people to end racism is, number one, let's forget that word race. Let's forget that word race. And let's, instead of that word race, because it only should be attached to another word, human race, because the rest of us are all ethnic groups, because we are all one human race, Homo sapiens, because that's our scientific name. And we know that our human race began in Africa. And say that, tell your friends about that, okay? When you go out there in your dinner conversations, or when you're there with a group of friends, just tell them that, hey, did you know that we all came from Africa? Because this is where the human race started over 100,000 years ago. What does that mean? That means that we are all Africans of different shades and colors. Yeah, that's it. That means that we are all related. We are all relatives. We are all family. Somos todos somos familia. And we have to really impress that upon people, because this is the only way that we can get rid of racism. If people can really understand that, and then we can say to all of these white supremacists, like the white nationalists and the neo-Nazis and the KKK, those white citizens councils, hey, get over it, you're Africans already, okay? Enough already. Okay, let's stop the racism. So I know, because of everything that you've learned in the Cesar Chavez clubs, that you are going to be ambassadors, you're going to be leaders, you're going to carry that message forward, that we all have to work together to support each other. And I also know, being a part of the Cesar Chavez clubs, that you have been inured and really learned the lessons of nonviolence. And this is one really, really important thing, of course, that Cesar really taught us. And I just want to remind you of something that I'm sure that you learned. Then when we had the martyrs killed in the Farmworkers Movement, that we had marches and we had candlelight vigils, we had thousands of people and nobody turned to violence. Now, I know that sometimes people are angry and they're frustrated, but this is another message that you can carry with you, so that when people are out there protesting and that they're marching, that we can tell them, look, let's all self-police to make sure that infiltrators do not come in here and they will bring some kind of dishonor on our marches and our protests by causing violence. And so these are all the great messages that you can carry with you into the future. I also want to mention another important thing that's happening today besides your graduation, which I know is the most important thing in your lives. And I think that the Cesar Chavez Club graduation is really special. I know you had your other graduations, but this one here is very, very special, because when you carry the name of a man who was really a genius, and remembering that Cesar Chavez never got to go to high school, like so many of maybe our relatives that we know, our parents, our grandparents, maybe some of our friends that we had that went to school and then they were pushed out of school, or whatever reason that they didn't finish high school. So part of our mission has got to be to make sure that not only can we make sure everybody gets an education, but let's fight for free college education for everybody. Now, a lot of people say that's impossible. That's not going to happen. But because there are people out there like Cesar, who only went to the 8th grade, that are really, really intelligent, but they never had a chance to go to college. So we have to fight to make that happen. And we know that one of the only ways that we can make this happen is by voting, and by making sure that we get good people elected, like Senor Huerta, who's with us today, to get them on these school boards and to run these school districts, so that we can stop the expulsion and the push out of our brown and black students in this country. We can make that happen, and it's going to start with us. So I know when you go to college, you're going to be very, very busy. You're going to have so much studying to do that you're not going to have a lot of other time. But you know what? I do want to ask you one other thing. Please start campaigning for people to vote, okay? Because this is the only way that we can get people like El Señor Huerta, you know, the people elected to these school boards, people like Carlos and Linda, you know, that are our leaders, that we can put them into positions of power, not only on our school boards and our state legislatures and our US Congress. We've got to get people out there that are going to commit with us, that they're going to fight racial discrimination, that they are going to fight to get money into our school system. They're going to help us fight so that someday we can have free tuition for every college student and free healthcare for every single individual. So these are things that we can actually make happen, because guess what? We're the richest country in the world. The United States of America is the richest country in the world. But if we don't get everybody to vote, then we're not going to make that happen. So we have a big mission ahead of us. And I know that because you come out of the Cesar Chavez clubs, that you're actually going to be capable of doing this, okay? So anyway, I want to congratulate you, and I do quiero felicitar también a todos los padres y ahora que están aquí acompañando a sus hijos por su gran tarea que hicieron, y que ellos van a poder seguir adelante. Y les estamos pidiendo, sabemos que sus tareas van a ser difíciles en el colegio, pero sabemos que ellos nos van a ayudar a pelear en contra del racismo, y también siempre respetar a todas las personas que no tuvieron la oportunidad de tener una educación preparatoria o formal, como muchos de nosotros, de nuestros parientes, y como Cesar Chávez, que solamente pudo ir al grado 8, porque él, como muchas de las personas que conocemos, se tiene que salir de la escuela para poder apoyar y mantener a sus familias. Y siempre tenemos que respetar a toda la gente que trabaja con sus manos, porque como los campesinos que nos dan todo el servicio, que nos dan la comida cada día, las personas que limpian nuestros edificios, los que cuidan nuestros niños, los que cuidan también a la gente ya de tercera edad, todas esas personas que nos dan tantos servicios, que muchos de ellos no son ciudadanos, o no tienen su inmigración, estancia legal aquí en este país, pero tenemos que seguir ayudando y sabemos que ahora estos jóvenes que tienen este poder de educación, que es una fuerza muy grande para ellos, y les estoy pidiendo a todo el mundo que nos ayuden con el voto, porque sabemos que ahorita estamos viviendo un momento muy, muy importante y todos nos pueden ayudar a sacar el voto. Y una cosa más, y esto lo voy a empezar en inglés, pero luego lo voy a traducir en español. La otra es el censo. Ustedes miran aquí que yo tengo el letrero del censo. So all of you see here that I have the census sign above me. And I want to ask all of you, I've already asked you to help us get people registered to vote, but I'm also going to ask you to please help our Latino community, especially our African-American community. Please, let's ask them to get everybody that they know to register to vote. You know, your neighbors, your family members, your friends, everybody, because our Latino community right now is very undercounted. And guess what? For every one of us that we are not counted, or we do not participate, we don't phone in our answers to the census, or we don't fill out our forms, we are losing $2,500 per person. $2,500 per person, and that money will go for, it'll go for our education, for schools, it'll go for healthcare, it'll go for roads and parks and all of the other infrastructure that we need. And the census is confidential, especially people that are immigrants. If you're undocumented, we still need you to be counted. So please help us with that. Talk to all of your friends, talk to your family members, and tell them, please, it's really important. Not only do we lose money, but guess what? We're going to lose the representation that I talked about to get our people on the school boards and to end the racism that we have in our society. So también les estoy pidiendo que por favor nos ayuden con el censo. Ahorita tenemos tristemente mucha de nuestra gente latina no ha participado en el censo y vamos a perder millones de dólares aquí en el estado de California si la gente no participa, porque para cada uno de nosotros que nos contamos, le traemos aquí a nuestra comunidad $2,500 por persona, $2,500 por persona, y si no participamos, vamos a perder todo ese dinero y también vamos a perder representación en los distritos escolares, en la legislatura estatal y en el Congreso de Estados Unidos. Y si queremos una reforma de migración, tenemos que tener personas que nos van a apoyar y vamos a perder esos puestos si no participamos en el censo. Es confidencial, no se puede compartir la información con nadie más, así es que nos estamos rogando, hágale por sus hijos para que podamos tener el dinero para su educación que ellos necesitan. So, we just have to repeat to everybody that the census is confidential, it's private, and they cannot share the information with anybody that we know. So I've given you a lot of tasks to do, but I know because you are Cesar Chavez Club graduates that you are up to the task and that we're going to make it happen. And I hope that we can have another celebration in the future, all of us in person, and to be able to celebrate all of the work that you've been doing. And again, I just want to congratulate all of you for the great work that you've done. I want to congratulate Carlos and Linda and all of the staff of the Cesar Chavez Clubs. Keep on going. I know that we're going to build a better future for everybody. And you, not the future leaders of the United States, but our present leaders here of California and the United States. So sí se puede with all of you, and thank you very much for inviting me to share in this special moment of your graduation. Gracias, muchas gracias.